like, I don't know that everybody wants that. And I'm not saying I'm okay with it by any means, but I almost can understand it because, like, very mathematically, if everybody's equal, then whatever white men, whoever have been controlling it for this long, like they then are, I don't want to say they're worse off, because the reaction to that is typically like, no, 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 they're not worse off. There's enough for everybody. And that's true. But if you have a privilege, if you're above somebody, when you become equal, either they come up to your level or you come down to their level. Think of it how you will, but there is a shift in, like, value that you have and privilege that you have. And I don't know if we as humans are capable of giving that up willingly. Like, it may be ingrained in our DNA that we want to seek, maintain, exploit power as best we can. How do you like, are you optimistic that, like, we actually could at scale get to a place where, yeah, we all want equality and equal opportunity for all? Or do you think that's just something nice that we aspire towards, but it would never actually happen?
Yeah, I mean, I never feel like I have felt privilege in a way that has like positively impacted my life. Like that's not to say that I haven't, because like
Yep.
God knows I've not experienced like racism openly to my face. Like there are things like that that I think about. Like I don't fear for my life when I get pulled over on the road.
Yep.
Like that's not a thing I do. Like I just put a smile on my face and I hope that I don't get a ticket. Like
Yep.
that's how I talk to a cop, and I'm aware that that's a unique experience for me that isn't universal to the country. So like that is a thing. Like, but I've never felt it myself because I've been living my life, right? I've not been living other people's lives. So like I think that from that perspective, like I've not had like job opportunities because of where I live or who I am. Like my family isn't like well connected. I haven't had like, you know, people to recommend me for a job or something because of who my father or my mother was or whatever. Like I've never experienced that before. And I think so like people that do have that, I don't know if it would be easy to give that kind of thing up, because like having that kind of privilege is life changing, right? Like it's a thing that, and I mean, I think that if we all had to live on merit, then a lot of us may not be as successful as they would be. Like, and it's just the truth of it.
Yeah.
So I think that that's a big part of it is like, I might have to actually try if these things went away. So I think that that is probably something that is challenging, but I've never really had that to think about, you
Mm.
know?
Mm.
But what I have done as a person that has like worked for nonprofits and worked for like a leadership organization, like I have seen people collaborate from all different backgrounds, different races, different, sexualities, men, women, whatever. And I have seen that ideas are better and the things we do are better whenever all of us can work together and conceive things together. So I feel like the world, generally speaking, is a better place whenever we all have our ideas heard and we have like opinions and life experiences from every walk of life that can contribute to that. And I just feel like maybe one like it feels very cynical to have to feel this way, but I feel like ultimately in our capitalist society, unless government does find some way to like rein it in a bit, basically corporations have to like care a little bit. And what I hope is that they will care about the innovation. Like they'll care about the idea that they might be able to make a better product that will better serve and sell better, like make them more money when they have more voices in the room
Mm.
that can like provide more input and create things that are of better quality. So that's sort of like the hope that I have beyond politics is that like maybe like people's greedy motivation of like just wanting more money might land them in the right place
Mm.
one day.
Mm.
I don't think we're there, but I think that we might land there, I don't know, in the next 50, 100 years, who knows?
Yeah. Yeah. I get that. And I think it's a really good way to look at it, and a hope to have, maybe even a more realistic hope that greed will actually be the mechanism we need to use to get people to be more inclusive, to care more about others, to bring more fairness into all of it. My cynical side, and maybe it's idealistic, I don't know, cynical or idealistic. I worry about that though, because I think about that too. And I worry that as long as selfishness, greed, that, like, individual drive towards goodness for myself is what's driving it, that's like a cancer. It's a poison that when that's in the system, it will never work right. Like, you may see some good outcomes that come from it, but if we are still ultimately, like, driven, and our wiring is set to say, how can I maximize, the profits for this corporation, somehow or another that's going to lead to it's not going to lead to a good outcome. Like the only way to truly fix it is to actually get people to do much of what you've been saying in this conversation, which is to actually recognize that we could all be better off if we do this the right way. And that's actually, it's almost like going against our inherent nature of protecting our own and tribalism to say, I'm going to go against that. It doesn't seem to make sense to me. Like internally, it doesn't feel right, but I'm going to do it because I believe it's right. Like that's what it's going to take to actually get there. But I don't know. I mean, who's to say maybe it is that approach, like tapping into the greed will work. I'd hope so, because that seems like a much more realistic path.
And like we see it obviously, right? I mean, you think about a movie like Black Panther, the latest one that came out, like it's a cultural phenomenon. It very much empowers the Black community. There's a sense of unity there. The storytellers, like the director, the writer, are Blacks. Like they're telling their story through that. But then who's ultimately benefiting from that? Like the white people that are at the top, right? Like the old white men that have run everything. Like,
well, yeah, and it's such a good example, because the only reason, not the only reason, I don't want to sound super like, but arguably a main reason why that movie was even promoted and developed is because the time period we're in, there was some sense of like, oh, this will play well, right? Like we're tapping into minority communities, it's empowering. Like that's something that people want right now, so we'll do that. Like, and that's kind of the point of it, right? Like if you're doing it for that reason, I don't know if that ever in the long run gets us there, versus saying I'm going to do it when it doesn't make sense, because that's what we ultimately need people to do, right? On an individual level, day by day, moment by moment, to do things that maybe don't make sense, that aren't to their own benefit, but just because it's the right thing to do for people.